3 years ago, I created a board game to bring to our friends tradition of Secret Santa. I wanted a game that would bring a lot of fun to the table and offer us a fully customizable experience. I did it because the idea of conceiving a game was appealing to me, but I never intended to take it any further than that. It was just a game for me and my friends. However, as time passed, I started to redefine my game. I found myself so involved, spending hundreds of hours developing it and fixing the issues and trying to bring it further, that the casual joke of bringing a custom game to our yearly friends meeting became a much more serious one, developing a proper game. A few months ago, I decided to abandon the board game idea. I converted it into a card game, taking a lot of the lore, concepts, and mechanics with me and adapting them to the new format. Since then, I had abandoned the idea of conceiving a map because there wouldn't be a board. But actually, I took a degree in geography, and cartography was one of my favorite subjects. I decided I simply had to create a map for QBOS to develop not only the world building and lore, but also to explain the game's purpose. I needed to answer, why are characters battling? What do they want? How is this world structured, and what do they fight for? The concept of capital seems the first board game I created that is present, so the goal of the game is always to conquer an enemy's capital through battling. However, when I redefined the concept for the game, I decided I needed to create some kind of resource that would unify all of this, so I created the concept of Nekthars, and I decided that this fantasy, absurd, ridiculous world would revolve around addiction. So the characters are addicted to specific types of nectar and they will fight each other for more. The nectars are the fuel of their power, but also the source of their ruin and pain. A capital in QBOS world is basically put just a city that produces nectar. So far, on the 4 prototypes I've created to playtest, I started with the idea of having only 4 capitals, making more in expansions. But since we've played the game around 100 times already, uh, 4 feels like a short number. And when playing draft, like the draft format, it feels that you're very limited when you get the capital that you really don't want, and you cannot do anything about it. So, for the capitals, I had the idea of taking real world cities and giving them a twist so they would be unique and original. I decided to choose the real worlds Lisbon, Ljubljana, London, and Warsaw for the inspiration, as they are the 4 capitals where I've already lived and have a lot of good memories associated with. So, I had this new idea, doubling the number of capitals. I mean, we need more capitals for the starter set. And I wanted to use both sides of the card. The same card will have 2 capitals on it. You just flip to one side and you get 1 capital, and you flip to the other and you have another. Basically, I would introduce Porto to the other side of Lisbon, Liverpool to the other side of London, Maribor to Ljubljana, and Krakow to Warsaw. But this needed an explanation for why you have 2 faced cards. I mean, what is the logic behind that? So I needed to create a world building and lore around that matter. Therefore, it came to my mind that when you play the game, you're no longer representing a capital, but rather a zone. Let's say it's kind of a country, but we call them zones. And they are just simply numbered from 1 to 50 because what better number than 50? I created the map of QBOS, the card game, taking this into consideration, focusing on the topography, including frozen areas, tropical areas, volcanoes, deserts, and jungles, all of that matter. I also had to focus on the access to the different types of nectar because I wanted each region of the world to have access mostly to a given type of nectar rather than the other. So I also had to make sure that each type of nectar would touch each type of nectar, you know what I mean? Because when thinking about expansions, I want to, of course, combine all the possible colors. So, with that in mind, I created the map of QBOS now including 50 zones, and each zone will have 2, but not limited to 2 capitals. So, the zone will be inspired basically on the country where those cities that I took inspiration from are. Like we'll have in this starter set Portugal, England, Slovenia, and Poland, which means that we still have 46 zones for other countries in upcoming expansions. Just one little thing that is very important to mention, these all artworks that you saw on the capital cards are just placeholders, that they're not the final art at all. So don't worry too much about it. It will be completely different. It will be made from scratch, created a new city original, not what you saw on the cards. I'm just working with prototypes at this point. So just to sum up, whenever you play QBOS from now on, you will not only defend your capital and attack the enemy's capital, you will represent a zone. A zone with a lot of tradition and customs and personality and history. And basically you have to destroy the other person's zone, because the addiction, this nectar pursuit for more and more, will just make you do that, you know? Addictions make you do crazy shit. Also, we have a map. We have a map with 50 different zones. Each zone can have 2 capitals, 3 capitals, 4 capitals. Remember, a capital is simply a city that produces nectar. So that's what we call a capital. Therefore, we have the lore making a lot more sense, and the game will reflect that, as well as the cards. You know, the capital cards will now say Zone X and the name of the capital in front of it. On other topics, I'm nearly finishing the version 5.0. The last version, the layout, that will be the final. I've been fixing the text, making sure that the keywords are coherent all around the card, that there will be bold text in the right keywords so your eyes are directed to the actions more easily. I've been focused on the flavor text, illustrating the characters, and basically it's been a lot of work and grind for this. But I decided to spend this last week just drawing a map and focusing on the world building and the lore of the game, because it's also quite important to do so. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe this channel. Follow the journey of QBOS, the card game, becoming a real thing. See you on the next video.